In this episode, we're painting a monstrous commander of the Dark Legion. Hi all, and welcome to the cabin. This is the first part in our Summer of Warzone series, where we release a new video about Warzone Eternal every Sunday throughout July. It's finally time to paint the big baddie himself, the Nepharite of Algeroth. But first, let's go over some news about the game. Recently, Transatlantis Games announced that production of the physical miniatures for the US market is now handled by Terraniacs. They offer each sculpt individually, so you can get exactly what you want for your force, just like with Silver Heron in the EU. If you're interested in printing the miniatures yourself, the Warzone Eternal Frontier campaign is now live over on MyMiniFactory. You can choose between getting all the new models that were just released, full faction sets, or an all-in tier with everything released for the game so far. The campaign is live until July 20th, so if you want to get a good deal on these STL files, you still have a couple of weeks to check it out. Speaking of good deals, there's also a discount code for an additional 15% off to claim if you join the new Discord server that Transatlantis Games have set up. Just check out the pinned post in the Warzone announcements channel over there. The link to the Discord server, as well as the other things I just mentioned, can be found in the description and pinned comment below. Oh, and I wanted to remind everyone about the Wolfbane painting competition. You still have 4 weeks left if you want to join in. The deadline is midnight on August 2nd, and the 3 best entries are going to win paints from the Too Thin Coats line. There's a lot of excitement in the Warzone community right now, and like I mentioned in the last video, we've started the Summer of Warzone here at the cabin. Thanks again to Cormac McAvoy for the awesome artwork you created for our series. Alright, time to get back to the Nepharite. The concept of Nepharites actually predates Warzone, as they originate in a Swedish role-playing game called Kult, released by Target Games in 1991. They carried over into Mutant Rymd in the spring of 1992, and finally into the international launch of Mutant Chronicles in 1993. In this universe, Nepharites are the finest commanders of the Dark Legion, and serve directly under the Apostles themselves. Those who follow Algeroth are especially devoted to the art of war, and take great joy in the slaughter they create, while also leading their armies with cold efficiency. Here's the classic artwork by Paul Bonner, and it's truly an iconic piece. The bright red skin really stands out against the black armor, and it also features some blue spot colors here and there. There are countless depictions of Nepharites by a bunch of different artists, but many are derived directly from Bonner's piece. The model for Warzone Eternal was sculpted by Bruno Garcia, and it's quite faithful to this artwork with a few details tweaked, such as the boots, gloves, and shoulder spikes. I like the menacing pose. You can almost hear the screaming as he charges towards you. Here's the Snaptray version from Trenchworks. It's printed with the weapon and hands separate, and was very quick and easy to prep for painting. The old Kickstarter version, as well as the ones printed by Silver Heron, actually have the head as a separate part as well. Either way, let's get some paint on this bad boy. I undercoated the Nepharite with Chaos Black, which will form the base of the armor and work well for other areas too. I decided to start with the skin, which I base coated with Corn Red. I then washed it with Caribur Crimson, before layering on some Corn Red again. This was followed by a layer of Wazdaka Red, and then Evil Sun Scarlet. I used Wild Rider Red as a selective highlight, and lastly a filter of Doomfire Magenta diluted with a lot of contrast medium. Just like when I painted the Immaculate Furies, the skin ended up with a glossy finish after this, probably because I didn't shake the contrast medium enough. However, the overall varnish I apply at the end will fix that. The leather boots were base coated with Bloodreaver flesh. I then washed them with Agrax Earthshade and reapplied a layer of Bloodreaver flesh. This was followed by a layer of Nightquester flesh, and after that I used Baneblade Brown as a highlight. To finish them off, I applied Dark Oath flesh diluted with a lot of contrast medium as a filter. I chose Incubi Darkness as a base coat for the loincloth, and followed up with a wash of Nuln Oil. After that, I reapplied a layer of Incubi Darkness, and then added a layer of Dark Reaper. Next, I highlighted the cloth with Thunderhawk Blue, and finished it off with a filter of Space Wolves Grey diluted with a lot of contrast medium. The belts, cables, and tongue were all base coated with Macragge Blue. And afterwards I added a wash of Drakenhof Nightshade. Next I reapplied Macragge Blue as the first layer, followed by a layer of Altdorf Guard Blue. I used Calgar Blue for the highlighting, and finished these areas with a filter of Ultramarines Blue diluted with a lot of contrast medium. I chose Leadbelcher to undercoat all the metallic areas. I then used 1 part Rattling Grime diluted with 2 parts contrast medium as an overall wash. Next up, I added some Iron Hand Steel, dry brushing it onto all the surfaces. To define the recesses even more, I washed everything with Nuln Oil. Once that was dry, I applied an edge highlight of Runefang Steel. To make it look a bit dirtier, I used Garagax Sewer diluted with a lot of contrast medium as a selective glaze on random areas. The Algeroth symbol on the upper chest has a green and yellow glow in the artwork, so I painted the upper recesses with Moot Green and the lower ones with Phalanx Yellow. To make sure all the armor was nice and tidy, any overspill was corrected with Abaddon Black. I decided to use Mechanicus Standard Grey for the first highlight, which I deliberately made quite thick. After that, I used Dawnstone to paint a thinner highlight. Being a bit more selective, I applied Celestra Grey as a final edge highlight. For the teeth, I chose Ushapti Bone as a base coat. I then washed them with Seraphim Sepia, followed by Agrax Earthshade. I used the out-of-production gloss version, but you can also just grab the normal one for this. Off camera, I finished off the teeth with a highlight of Screaming Skull. Finally, I painted the eyes with Troll Slayer Orange, which you can see here. This was also a bit hard to record, but I added a tiny highlight of Lugganath Orange to finish them off. And with that, my Nepharite of Algeroth was complete. I varnished the miniature and based it in the same way as usual. I'm very excited about how this one turned out, and I can't wait to rip apart the soldiers of the megacorporations with his Azogar on the battlefield. Here's a comparison with the classic 1994 sculpt by Kev Adams. The new one is taller and has a more dynamic pose, which is not really possible with a single-piece metal model. And here's another comparison with the Warzone Resurrection model from 2014 by Irek Zelensky. I had to raise the new one slightly for a fair comparison since I put my Resurrection army on taller bases. They're about the same height, but the new one is definitely a lot bulkier, which I prefer. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on our Summer of Warzone this July. Remember to tune in every Sunday for a new video about Warzone Eternal. We'll see you next week. Good luck with your miniatures.